Welcome to the NFL opening line report, sportsmemo.com. Guys, I'm Kelly in Vegas, joined by Teddy Covers. We're going to run down the entire opening line report for Week 8 in the NFL. Good morning, Teddy. I'm really jealous you have a coffee right now.
Yeah, well, I could use a scotch and a beer. Was not a good weekend, unfortunately, for myself or the clients after what had been, a really tremendous start to the season. I got my ass kicked yesterday. That's never any fun. That being said, what do you do on a Monday morning? Back to the grindstone, baby. There's no rest for the weary. And we'll look at this week's numbers as we do every week, Kelly. The goal is we're going to do some handicapping of the games, talk about what happened yesterday. But the goal is to give you accurate line information. So if you're interested in making a wager, do I make this now? Do I wait till later in the week? Do I wait till right before kickoff? We'll give you the direction the lines are moving. We'll give you the look-ahead lines from last week. We'll give you my power rating numbers, and hopefully we'll give you a couple of tidbits that'll help you with your NFL wagering tonight and all week long.
I like it. All right, well, let's start on Thursday night. Miami at Houston was no look-ahead line guessing because there's no Tannehill or Brock confirmed one way or another. Opened 7 minus 115. It's now 7 minus 120 over at the Westgate.
Yeah, look ahead. My power rating number here was Texans minus 6.5 for Miami. We're seeing 7, and we're definitely seeing indications that this line could go to 7.5. If you like the Texans, I would bet it now. I would not wait. If you like Miami, hold up. You might see 7.5s between now and kickoff. Certainly the Dolphins defensively looked pretty inept yesterday. And, of course, it will be Brock Osweiler at QB once again, not Ryan Tannehill for the Dolphins. Osweiler's first 2 starts have come in Miami. This time he goes on a short week with travel in Houston. The markets, they're not going to be on the Dolphins for this one. So you can sense it. You can see it in the early numbers. And as you mentioned, there was no look ahead, but the money's going to come on Houston. Houston looked really good. Well, either Houston looked really good or the Jags looked really bad. We'll get to that in a little bit. Bottom line for Houston, though, Deshaun Watson, despite the lung injuries, despite the rib injuries, despite the 12-hour bus ride that he took to get there, Deshaun Watson made enough plays. And with that receiving core, Miami's receiving core banged up, Houston's receiving core healthy and making plays, you can expect money for the Texans.
All right, Philadelphia faces the Jaguars in London. Another one of those lovely 6:30 a.m. games on the West Coast. Look-ahead line here was a pick'em. Now we're seeing 3 minus 120 in favor of the Eagles. And, you just mentioned the Texans. And that's probably a little bit of an overreaction to how bad the Jags played. But I'm not rushing to back the Jags here.
No, what happened yesterday in Jacksonville was red flag worthy and was significant power rating adjustment worthy. Because Jacksonville, it was a statement game for the Jags at home, division foe, first place in the line, and they were flat out no-shows. From the opening drive, Blake Bortles gets the ball and handles the ball like it's a hot potato, and he fumbles it away deep in his own territory. And that wasn't the bad fumble at the end of the game. That was to open the opening drive of the game. Jags took the opening kick and fumbled it away, and Bortles' head wasn't in the game right from the get-go. And the team played like it was drops. There was miscommunications. There was screaming in the locker room at halftime. There were bad situations after the game. There were all kinds of reports of nastiness coming out of the Jags locker room. Now they have played well in London. And it's not like the markets are all excited about the Eagles after Philly blew a 17-0 fourth quarter lead with the same weakness that has befallen them all year long. Carson Wentz wasn't good down the stretch of that ball game, and the Philadelphia secondary continues to get burned. Of course, Wentz is playing better than Bortles, and for all the troubles the Eagles secondary has had, the Jags passing game does not go downfield at all right now. So, as you mentioned, look headline here was Pick'em. My powering number, Philly minus 3.5. This line right now, 3 minus 20. It's going to 3.5. If you like the Eagles, find a 3 now. This is your emergency. Emergency betting alert. This is the one. This game's going to 3.5. So if you like the Eagles, bet it sooner rather than later. If you like the Jags, no rush. Total is coming down. Not way down, but we've seen a little bit of under money in early betting action.
All right, Cleveland heads to Pittsburgh. Look ahead line was minus 7.5. Line is 7.5. Bookmakers did a good job on that one. Teddy, your thoughts on where this line's headed?
Well, it's not about the bookmakers do a good job. It just means that the markets haven't shifted on these two teams. I mean, let's put it this way. Look headline was 7.5. My powering number 7.5. The market's at 7.5. How much am I going to give you on this game? Not a lot. Worth noting, okay, when you have games in this 7.5 range, there are books that will go to teaser protection mode because they know everyone bets the 7.5 favorites. They tease them down to 1.5. And that is a smart strategic move when you're betting teasers. But the books that take a lot of teaser money, the books that worry about teaser action, they will often take a 7.5 and make it a 9. Not a lot of, in terms of it doesn't take much money to move a number from 7.5 to 9. 8's a dead number in the NFL. So be aware, 7.5 to 9, not a huge move, nothing like 2.5 to 4 or something like that on an NFL card.
Awesome. Okay. Denver, look ahead line. Denver's headed to Kansas City. The Chiefs now 7-0 against the spread after Sunday night. Look ahead line was -9.5. The line, most spots in Vegas is a 10. God, do you just keep stepping in front of this freight train? I mean, I told everybody last week, I go, I'm not stepping in front of that freight train.
They will. The markets will. I could tell you right now, the wise guys will be on Denver this week. As you mentioned, look headline was 9.5. My powering number is 10. The market's sitting here at 10 this morning. But, there will be a sharp square divide on this game. The books that cater to recreational bettors will shade Kansas City. That line will be 10.5. Who knows how high it'll get? Because they know, the Chiefs are the hot team with the great offense that keeps covering spreads. Those type of teams get money every single week from the betting public. If you're smart enough to be betting Kansas City every week, good for you. Kudos. Another right side winner last night. That being said, Denver played a good game last week. They had extra time to prepare. They figured it out a little bit. And it wasn't like the Broncos. Well, it's a little bit of a different class versus Arizona on the road versus KC on the road. But worth noting, both of these defenses played well. The Chiefs defense played well. The Kansas City totals, which have been getting bet up. 55.5. This one doesn't go any higher than that. If anything, this total is going to get bet down between now and kickoff.
All right, New York Jets at the Chicago Bears. Look ahead line was -5. Mostly 6.5s here in Vegas, it looks like. On this one, we can talk about Chicago all we want. I was on them last week. Ugly loss at home. Same thing with the Jets. Terrible. Both of my favorite games. Big-time losers get to play each other this week.
Yeah, well, my favorite game yesterday was the Jaguars. So, obviously, not a great Sunday for either one of us, unfortunately. And look, that's part of what we do, all right? You're not going to win every week. I'm not going to win every week. The best bettors in the world aren't going to win every week. Some weeks you get punched in the face. What matters is how you react to that. You need to come back. You can't go, okay, you're allowed to get drunk Sunday night and go, oh, my God, my life sucks. I can't believe I lost everything. Monday morning rolls around, nose to the grindstone. You get back to work. You do what you need to do to get off the schneid. Of course, that didn't work for the Jets. Just had a rough game against Minnesota. And, with the injuries they have at wide receiver right now, that's a big concern. And Noon was a big difference maker. He was like the safety valve for Sam Darnold. He wasn't there yesterday, and it was a problem. But, of course, the Bears' defense has gotten lit up in back-to-back weeks. Look ahead line here. It was only 5. My powering number's only 6. 6.5, 7. It doesn't look like this line is necessarily going to 7 across the board. I wouldn't be surprised at all. See it settling at the 6.5 mark. And, of course, Khalil Mack's not 100%. Mitch Trubisky, what do we say about Trubisky? Again, he wasn't good in yesterday's game. Trubisky was good. The Bears win that game. He was good on the Hail Mary at the end.
I was going to say the 1-yard line. He threw a great pass.
Oh, my goodness. But bottom line, from a point spread perspective, I expect this to close 6.5. I don't think it closed to 7. So if you like the Jets plus the 7, I would grab them. But you're going to see books that have 7. This is going to be like a 6 3/4 line all week. It just has that feel. Total wise, we've seen a little bit of over money. And I'm going to continue to bet the Jets over. I think the Jets are an over team, and the markets aren't with me. They steamed it under yesterday. Used as a free play. That one won. But no surprise here if we see a little bit more under money between now and the end of the week. Markets still like the Bears defense. They still like the Jets defense. And both QBs, young QBs, going through some growing pains with some receiver injuries.
All right, the Redskins at the New York Giants. Look ahead line was -1. We now see it Washington -1 in a few spots here in Vegas. Actually, there's a pick'em as well. Oh, God. I mean, I guess we'll see. It is Monday morning, so I guess we'll see how the Giants play tonight and see what ends up happening to this line. But, God, the Giants, the end. I have nothing else to say.
Look ahead was 1. My powering number going into Monday Night Football is pick'em. We're seeing some ones on Washington. Although this is, nothing even close to being a mature market. Only a handful of books that post the number before the Monday Night Football game for the Giants. Certainly, was it an impressive performance from the Redskins yesterday? They're the first place Redskins. They've won 2 in a row. Washington doesn't have many 3-game winning streaks. If the Giants look good tonight, they'll go off as chalk. If the Giants win this game, they will be the favorites against the Redskins, even though they're 2-5 with the win, and Washington will be 4-2. But on the other hand, if the Giants get their ass kicked tonight, no surprise here if Washington opens 2.5 or 3 on the broader number. So it's a type of situation where if you're betting Monday Night Football tonight, if you like the Giants, bet them twice. Bet them Monday night, bet them for next week. If you like the Falcons, bet them twice. Bet Atlanta tonight and bet Washington for next week. You're likely to be getting the best of the number for next week's games if your handicap on tonight's game is correct.
All right, Seahawks head into Detroit. Detroit, look ahead line -2.5. We saw it open 3, but lots of 2.5s, -120 here in Las Vegas.
Yeah, and hey, just to get my numbers real quick, look at 2.5. My number on Detroit is 4 in this ball game, and I consider making it 4.5. I'll just put it that. Lions have been impressive the last couple of weeks, and when you look at that, the potential for that offense, with Cooter still calling the plays, with the receiving core that they have, with Kerryon Johnson now providing a running element that literally the Lions haven't had since Barry Sanders retired 20 years ago. It's a little bit of a scary team. They're a little bit under the radar in my mind when it comes to their power rating and the market perception of Detroit right now. And at 3-3, the record says they're mediocre. The markets think they're mediocre. I think they're maybe a little better. Of course, Seattle than mediocre. Seattle in the good spot coming off the bye. And certainly Pete Carroll with extra time to prepare has a good track record. This total looks like it's going to get bet up. I think the line, 2.5, 3, it's not moving anywhere. But total-wise, we have seen some over money. No surprise if we see more. If you like the over, bet it sooner rather than later.
All right, Tampa Bay heads into Cincinnati. Look ahead line was -5 in favor of the Bengals. We see mainly 6s across the board here in town. I don't know what to make of this game, or either team for that matter.
Well, look at line 5. My powering number on Cincy only 4. The Bengals haven't played the kind of defense to be laying this type of points. And obviously coming off an embarrassing Sunday night loss, they've been very bad in primetime and been fine at bouncing back off the primetime defeats throughout the Andy Dalton / Marvin Lewis era. And Tampa yesterday, they, despite the fact that they were having success getting takeaways, they couldn't put the game away against the Cleveland Browns. And coming off the grueling overtime affair, now travel, markets don't tend to love those type of teams. All that being said, 6 feels rich to me. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we see a little bit of Bucs money. I don't think it goes higher than 6. If it's going to do anything, this line's going down.
All right, so if you want to take the Bucs, now is the time to do it. Baltimore heads to Carolina. Look ahead line was a pick'em. Open Carolina -1. Now Baltimore -1, -1.5, depending on where you like to shop.
Yeah, and my powering number is the Panthers clear chalk here. 1.5. We're not talking about a huge chalk, but that Carolina should be. It's not a debate in my mind that Carolina should be favored, and the early markets said that. But the money's poured in on Baltimore. Multiple things to consider for this ballgame. Why the Ravens are taking the money. First, Carolina got the W yesterday. Yeah, I understand. They were also shut out for the first time in Cam Newton's career into the fourth quarter. And even on the comeback, even on those 3 touchdown drives, you know what? Cam Newton still doesn't look right. He doesn't. He's overthrowing receivers that he used to hit. Newton's not right now, and the markets are seeing that. Baltimore coming off a particularly frustrating loss, obviously, but boy, the most frustrating loss ever if you had the over in that ball game. You know, the Saints start out the game with a 10-minute drive and don't get any points on it. Convert on 3 first downs, don't convert on the 4th. And then even with that, you're still going to cash your over ticket if Tucker can make the extra point. He's 222 out of 222 since joining the league, and he misses it. Oops. Yeah, that's a tough one for over bettors. Tough one for side bettors, too. When you're a reliable kicker, it turns out he's human. Very frustrating. But Baltimore off the loss, Carolina off the win, Cam Newton still having issues. The market's showing a lot of respect for the Ravens in this ballgame. This is all wise guy money that's pushed the Panthers from being favorites to Baltimore being favorites right now. I don't think it gets any higher than this. 1.5. It's not going up to 2. It's not going up to 3. We may see some buyback on Carolina throughout the course of the week, but this game likely to close. Baltimore short chalk, pick 'em somewhere in this range. It's not one of these games you have to run to the betting window to get involved with. Although if you like the under, bet that sooner, not later.
All right, Indianapolis at Oakland. Look ahead line was Oakland minus 1.5. Now we've seen it flip 1.5s across the board, even 1-2 here in Vegas in favor of the Colts.
Yeah, and boy, this is one of those games where when I'm adjusting my powering number on from Indy off of yesterday's game, I was at real debate. How much do I adjust? Because the Colts, obviously, with a dominant performance, most importantly, not what they did on defense. They created turnovers, which is something they haven't been able to do. But most importantly for Indy, they got the running game going. Marlon Mack, is now healthy, back-to-back big games, had over 100 yards yesterday. The Colts ran for over 200 yards in that ball game. And if Indy can run, we know Andrew Luck can throw. That offense is going to be good. And now, Luck's got a chance, that he's had a chance to get back in a rhythm. There's a potential buy sign here on Indy, and the market's obviously seeing that. There's no buy sign on Oakland. I've not done a lot of reading on the Raiders during the bye week. I will do some reading on this game, obviously, before I get involved with a wager. But it felt like Gruden was like, everybody get the hell out of Dodge. We'll see y'all next week, which is why I didn't do a lot of reading on it, because there wasn't a lot going on in Oakland camp. But from where the money is moving right now, it's clearly moving towards Indy. I don't think we're going to get a ton of Raiders support. And if you like the Colts, it's not going to hurt you to get involved. There are -1s out there now. There's even a pick 'em with some juice. Not going to hurt you to get involved with Indy now. This number can only go up on the Colts.
All right, San Francisco 49ers at Arizona. Look ahead line was -2. We saw it open pick 'em. We have some ones in Vegas, some pick 'ems around Vegas. Good grief. I think this is the ugliest game on the board all week.
It is. Yeah. When the two teams are combined 2-12, and they haven't played each other. I thought one of them came against each other, but no, it wasn't.
The Cardinals did beat the 49ers a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, how come they're playing their second meeting and it's only week 8?
That's what's funny about the Broncos-Chiefs game. I was shocked to see them playing. They usually play my birthday, so It's interesting that these big-time divisional games are already back-to-back like that.
When's your birthday, Cal?
November 25th.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, the Broncos play the Chiefs late every year.
I thought I said it earlier, and then I'm like, could they have? It's one of these Monday morning dealies. But these are two teams, obviously, that have played already, and 1-11 combined against teams that are not each other. That's better than 2-12 overall.
There we go.
This will be the least bet game of the week at most locations. We're not going to see a lot of action. My powering number here is pick 'em. You have the 49ers are now -15 in turnovers, dead last in the NFL. Shanahan went nuts about it after the game yesterday. There's more hope for San Fran than there is for Arizona this season. But on the other hand, the 49ers injury report just gets worse and worse and worse every week. It's an ugly. Their injury report's like a mile long, which is great if you have a 49ers under 8.5 ticket in your pocket for season wins, but it's not great if you want to be betting on San Fran at any point over the next couple of weeks. This line is not going anywhere. Someone's going to close, pick 'em or -1. Total wise, we haven't even seen any movement there either. So in terms of rush or urgency to bet this one, no, there's none.
Awesome. All right, the Packers head to LA. Look ahead line, Rams minus 8.5, open 10, lots of 9s and a few 8.5s here in Vegas. I was shocked to see this line this high, but then again, I probably shouldn't be.
Yeah, offshore they opened 10. Here in town it was 8.5. My powering number is 7.5. The current markets right now, anywhere you can see 8.5, you can see 9s, you can see 9.5, and you can see 10s on the board. Although the 10s at a book that offers off-market numbers, but basically between 8.5 and 9.5 as we speak. This is the biggest point spread that Aaron Rodgers has ever been in his career at the NFL level, or biggest underdog, I should say. That being said, the Rams, impressive, particularly impressive yesterday, where all of a sudden LA's defense is making plays all over the field. Aaron Donald was a monster in that ball game against the 49ers, in a game that they covered by, 4 touchdowns. Donald was a big part of those 4 touchdowns. I'll put it that way. But where's the money going to go in this one? Public's in love with the Rams, but the public isn't going to lay more than a touchdown against Green Bay. The wise guys don't love Green Bay and have they haven't really loved LA either. Bottom line, where's this line going? I don't know. I know a lot of them, but it's not going up to 10. It's not going down to 7. It's going to bounce in this range, 8.5, 9, 9.5. There's probably going to be a little bit of Green Bay money. I think people will look at the Packers as an underdog coming off a bye and say, hey, this team is worthy of a look. So I guess I do have an opinion. They're more likely to be Green Bay money than LA money. The 10s that were out there on the Rams are gone. I don't think they're coming back.
All right. New Orleans heads to Minnesota. Look ahead line was -3 for the Vikings. Even money now. We saw it open 1.5. Lots of 1.5s. There is 1 out here in Vegas. Where do you see this one headed?
I mean, bookmakers at pick 'em right now, with juice. And the money's come pretty heavily on New Orleans. And my powering number is Minnesota 3. I upped my number on the Vikings after yesterday's game. That was impressive. Although the injuries it's injuries, and maybe I shouldn't have upped it now that I'm thinking about it, because Minnesota walked out of that game. Even more. Let me see if I can get a list, because they were a banged up team going into that contest, and they had multiple key guys walking off the field or limping off the field. Anthony Barr, Xavier Rhodes, Linval Joseph, 3 key guys, and of course Andrew Sandejo. So you're talking about 4 key guys off the defense that was already missing Mike Hughes and Everson Griffin. So from an injury standpoint, and I'm glad we talked about it, because I realized I updated my Vikings number and probably didn't factor in the injuries. But the injuries for Minnesota are significant. And of course, New Orleans is in playoff revenge. We've seen the money come on the Saints. We may well see more money come on the Saints, especially after they got the win as a dog in Baltimore yesterday. Playoff revenge angle, yeah. Saints are taking money here. Though at 1.5, it's not one of these I got to run to the window. 1's a key number in the NFL. 1, 1.5, 2 matters. Grab the 1.5 now if you like New Orleans. I don't know. It doesn't feel like this line's going to pick them necessarily, but it might.
All right, not surprising. The biggest, shift since the look-ahead lines. Patriots head to the Buffalo Bills on Monday night. Look-ahead line, Patriots -10.5, now 13.5 across the board here in Las Vegas. And let's be real. I mean, who's going to bet the Bills here?
No, the Jags-Eagles adjustment was bigger, wasn't it? Or no, that was a 3-point adjustment, and this is a 3-point.
Yeah, they're both 3. Sorry about that.
Yeah. So they're and both of them are warranted. All right. What happened at Jacksonville yesterday requires a significant adjustment on your Jaguar power rating, because now they know, the quarterback situation is bad and the locker room is bad and everybody knows it. When you talk about the Bills, what we saw yesterday, we say, oh, well, maybe the defense can keep them in games. There was wise guy money on Buffalo before kickoff. They took out all the 7.5s in that game and it closed 7. And the thought was, the Bills defense is good enough. The Bills defense is good enough. No defense is good enough. When you have an offense that turns the ball over 5 times, when you have a quarterback that you just picked up out of retirement, got him in there for 1 week, and we're like, here you go. And then, of course, at the beginning of the second half, Peterman was warming up, and all the Bills backers like, no, we can't put him in there again. It's a tough situation for Buffalo. The bookmakers are well aware of this. It's a Monday night game. Every parlay is going to have New England. Every teaser is going to have New England. There will be no public money on the Bills whatsoever. So you have to see an adjustment like this. You have to see the 3-point. From 10.5, not high enough. 13.5, they'll attract some wise guy money. They attracted wise guy money on Buffalo last week. The books that have some wise guys that bet there that still allow them will get two-way action on this game. The ones that won't, it'll be all Patriots money, and those books will go to 14. They should be at 14 already if they know what they're doing. So, but Penny, there's all 13.5 out there. It's 14s except for Penny. Penny's at 13, so it's telling you already. The wise guys will be on Buffalo plus the points. But there's no reason to bet that now. If you like the Bills, you want to wait till post. If you like the Patriots, get them now before this number goes up to 2 touchdowns.
Always good stuff from Teddy. Make sure you guys give him a follow on Twitter at Teddy_covers and check out all of his premium plays up on sportsmemo.com.